Welcome back. Happens to be a Friday evening. 8 days ago on a television programme called Good Morning Britain, breakfast television of the ITV channel, they were talking about the reintroduction of military service. There's Sir Richard Keith, Sheriff, and there was another lady which was probably got a university degree in sociology and stuff like that. And they were discussing the reintroduction of military service. This was talked about and mentioned in a speech more than a year ago at Twickenham Barracks, West London. And I've forgotten the chap's name. At the time he was head of the British Armed Forces, and saying we have to introduce military service due to the fact we may one day go to war with Russia. But this time the bloke said we're heading a war to Russia, or having a war with Russia, I should say. He said we are on our way to having a war with someone. He mentioned Russia. And the usual rhetoric regarding the nation has to be prepared for any eventual events, you know, all that stuff there. This is probably in the same time period when Steinmeier was in Munich at the so-called conference, security conference, and he pledged, I shall send boots on the ground in Ukraine, 10,000 troops, and then in the end he came out with 30,000 troops. Seeing how Western armed forces are and the conditions, dwindling recruits, battle readiness zero, military armaments absolutely appalling, and you think you want a fight a war with Russia. Any wars are costly businesses regarding human sacrifices and financially speaking, because that nation will have to go into war mode. The industry which they produce as civilian will be converted for military uses. There'll be rationing, curfews and all that stuff regarding civil liberties and freedoms and that stuff, limited travel living as well, practically rationing all the resources, talking about food and energy, because most of the efforts will be concentrated on the war effort, which they have to, you know, support or withstand. And this drafting business is just a dress rehearsals for sending people forced against their will to fight a foreign war, which no one asked for. And they're being used as cannon fodder. And obviously all those problems, logistics, preparations and training and recruiting people in the thousands is a nightmare, and the resources as well. And you must think how the government has treated their veterans of any type of war which they were in as professional soldiers. Thrown on the side of the street. And the government doesn't give a damn or give a monkeys for these people who, many, serve for their country. And afterwards would have been treated not by the nation of people, for the government they represented at that time. A bit like stabbing in the back. And I don't think youngsters, because we live in a very divided society, especially UK. And I don't think Gen Zs are too keen to do military service, or even considering fighting a foreign war. In the name of who? In the name of democracy? No, in the name of tyranny. In the name of bankers' interests, in the name of corporations, in the name of politicians. Do politicians send their sons and daughters into the war? No. It's always the middle class people in any situation. They get drafted, or the major recruits as professional soldiers, whether it's in the Navy or in the Air Force. And the fact is, the European Union wants to do a patrimonial on the European citizens' savings. And you may ask yourself, for what? Because they want to finance, for European taxpayers, the war in Ukraine against Russia. And obviously each country who probably spends about 2.5% of their GMP on military spending. Trump said this administration will no more foot the bill for Europe. So Europe in a certain way has to think for themselves and start pulling the finger out their arse and start spending more money on military spending. And this means lesser resources for welfare, pensions, hospitals, schools, public transport, and so on. Basically, it will be a country which only exists on a certain war economy, or should say military economy, like it was the old Soviet Union, how their society was based upon.